Hoopsville, enjoying your evening. Hoopsville on the air once again on a Thursday evening. Lots to talk about around Division III. Starting to think about regional rankings, which come out here in a couple of weeks, believe it or not. Lots to talk about in between as well. Tonight's show a little bit more geared towards teams who are doing really well, just not maybe garnering the attention. I don't like that. I'm going to go back to that lighting. Maybe not garnering necessarily the attention that top 25 voters are giving them. Not a negative towards those teams and not a negative towards the voters. It just happens to be a lot of good teams in men's and women's basketball this season. So certainly want to talk about that and what is going on. So welcome into Hoopsville on this Thursday evening, January 23rd. If you have had the opportunity to check out what's going on around. We have some delays, at least in the Mid-Atlantic and East, which has resulted in a little bit busier of a top or men's and women's scores tonight. So we will keep track of a lot of what's going on around the country as those delays have proved inevitable in some ways due to weather. Of course, we've had the weather in the Midwest delay games. We've had weather in other regions, the Northeast especially. So we will keep an eye out on all of that. And we'll see what's going on, but please, stay tuned to what's going on here on the show, but we'll keep an idea of what's going on score-wise as well. So lots to talk about right now, and we certainly hope you're enjoying the show here tonight here on Hoopsville. Don't forget to interact with us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville and hashtag Hoopsville. Interesting. I think the system is indicating we are not on the air, but we're going to keep on going as if we are. Oh, we are. Yeah, I see some people watching us. That's always good. Anyway, at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville on Twitter, on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville, and on email, hoopsville at d3hoops.com. That's how you can interact with us. We certainly hope you will take advantage of those opportunities as well. There's lots to talk about in terms of who we have on the show tonight. Men's and women's basketball. We'll start on the women's basketball side of things this evening. Transylvania women's basketball coach Greg Todd will join us, talk about his 14-2 team, 8-1 in the conference. We'll talk to Johns Hopkins women's basketball coach Nancy Funk. Her team's 12-3, 10-0 in the Centennial Conference, the only team on the men's and women's side who are undefeated at this point in the Centennial. William Smith women's basketball, Lindsay Sharman will join us to talk about her team. Team is 12-2, 5-0 in the Liberty League. We'll talk to her about her Heron women's basketball team. Men's side, we'll start with our school of the week. It's Shriner out of Texas. Coach Jimmy Smith joining us. Team is 9-7, but in their first year in the SCAC, they are 5-0 to start things off. We'll talk to Coach Smith. They are on the road for their SCAC games this weekend. We'll also talk to him about the crazy weather in Texas. We'll jump into the Great Lakes again. Mount Union's men's basketball coach Mike Feline will join us. The team is 13-3 overall, 8-1 in conference play. The Purple Raiders certainly playing good basketball this season. Their 13 wins already equals last year's total, or 2 years ago, I think. I'll double check that. Team is playing very good, to say the least. So we will talk to Mount Union's men's basketball coach coming up on the show. And then also we'll talk the one top 25 team we have in, and they are in by a scant margin, 25th team in the country on the men's basketball side, Dubuque. Robbie Sieverding will join us, the head coach there. 16-0 is the team, 5-0 in the IIAC. They are definitely playing good basketball this season. We'll see how Coach feels about that and whether they can continue their undefeated ways as we move forward. We'll see what he thinks. Also, take a look a little bit at what's coming up ahead in Division III. Got another good weekend coming of basketball. We had a great weekend this past weekend. Had a great weekend last weekend. Just noticed the mess I have over our shoulder. Hold on. Clean that up just a little bit. We will be reorganizing the office in the coming days in the studio as we gear up from a week from today. We will be on the air. By the time you join us right about now, we will have been on the air for 9 hours. We are going on the air 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. next week. right here out of the Hoopsville studios. Not sure we'll get the computer upgraded like we had hoped we would, but we will be on the air for 12 hours, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. next Thursday. It's all part of the Hoopsville fundraising project. Certainly hope you will check that out. Hoopsville fundraising project. We are 51% of the way to our goal. Our goal, if we meet our goal, the significant portion is that our fees for the website we're using get cut in half. And if anybody knows fees, that is a significant step. We get to keep a little bit more of our money than we would right now if we don't meet our goal. But we can also exceed our goal. There is no reason we need to stop at our goal. We certainly hope you will help us with that. Fundraising project is geared towards helping this show move forward. We have lots of ideas of what we'd like to do with the show. We just haven't had the time to do them or the finances to do them, including upgrading equipment like software and upgrading equipment like the computers in general. Also upgrading things so we can travel a little bit easier as well. And, of course, pay for those travel expenses as well. So that's how you can interact with us. We certainly hope you will enjoy helping us out. If you do, we have a few perks. And by the way, some of them are running out. The perks that we have available are at $10 a tip-off perk. If you contribute at least $10, we will recognize you on our special contributors page on our website, d3hoopsville.com. The dribble drive, $25. These are unlimited, by the way, claims. Contribute at least $25. We will recognize you on our contributors page, and we will publicly thank you on a future Hoopsville show. And we'll even follow you on Twitter if you so choose as well. The $50, which is our featured perk, the offensive rebound. If you contribute at least $50, we'll recognize you on the contributors page, publicly thank you on the show, follow you on Twitter, and send you a Hoopsville t-shirt by the end of the basketball season. So far, we've had 10 of the 15 claimed, so 5 more available of the offensive rebound. The $100 slam dunk appears to be the most popular. First 15 to contribute at least $100, we will recognize you on our contributors page, publicly thank you on a future show, send you a Hoopsville t-shirt, and we will wear your school shirt on a show while interviewing the men's or women's coach or any guest of your choosing. 13 of the 15 have been claimed, so there's only 2 more left of the slam dunk. By the way, it doesn't mean you can't still contribute that number. It just means that perk has left, and if they're really popular, we might throw in some extra perks. And then there's the ultimate one, the championship. First 10 contributors to choose that, publicly thanked on the show, publicly followed on Twitter if you so choose, publicly thanked on the page. Hoopsville t-shirt. We'll wear your shirt as well, and some other things. And actually, it says 5 out of 10 claimed. Technically, we'll make that 6 because one person has been claimed, but we may not be able to mark it as such. But that is the Hoopsville fundraiser. We certainly hope you will take the time to join us there. You can find more information on our Twitter page at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You'll find that there. We tweeted out a couple things today about that. And we also have our information on Facebook.com/Hoopsville as well. There's also a link on the front page of D3Hoops.com, all towards the fundraiser. We certainly hope you will consider choosing that. We certainly would appreciate it. If you want to interact with us, don't forget again, you can do so via Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also join us on Facebook at Facebook.com/Hoopsville or email us at Hoopsville@D3Hoops.com. And so on and so forth. So lots to talk about, to say the least. Trying to think of anything else jumping out. I mean, we've had a busy week, to be sure. Congratulations to St. Norbert's women's basketball coach, Coach Connie Tilley. 600 wins now after a win last night. By the way, Stevens Point still undefeated. Amherst defeated Williams pretty handily. It was pretty interesting how that game ended. ODAC is wide open yet again. Everybody is not beating everybody, but certainly everybody is taking care of each other. It's interesting to see how that's all been playing out. So, you know, we're at that point now where in the basketball season where things are starting to really kind of take shape. We're starting to understand teams better. We're starting to understand conferences better, and certainly understanding what's going on. we're at a point now where teams are solidifying their resumes. And remember, regional rankings come out a little under 2 weeks will be our first regional ranking. And that regional ranking will be telling because we'll also get our first SOS numbers of the season. I do have unofficial RPI SOS numbers here for the top 20 teams in each region, thanks to our friend Night Slappy on the D3 board. So if you have questions on where you think one of your teams fit in each region, please let us know. I'll try and give you an idea, plus give you kind of my point of view on things as well. Remember, tonight we primarily focus on the East, the Mid-Atlantic, the Great Lakes and the West region. Sometimes we dabble in the South, and we will tonight with our School of the Week in Schreiner. That doesn't mean we won't talk about other topics that come up, certainly. Don't want to leave those out. But those are where our guests primarily come from. Again, coming up, Transylvania women's basketball coach Greg Todd, Johns Hopkins women's basketball coach Nancy Funk, William Smith women's basketball coach Lindsay Sharman. Then we switch into the men's side, go to the Schreiner men's basketball coach Jimmy Smith, Mount Union's men's basketball coach Mike Feline, and Dubuque's men's basketball coach as well will be joining us. Coming up here on Hoopsville, so lots to talk about tonight. We'll keep track of scores from around Division III as well because we've had a lot of delays that made today a little bit more interesting in terms of games scheduled, to be sure. We'll keep track of what's going on, if there's any upsets that jump out at us. Couple games in the CAC, for example, number 12 Wesley, number 15 Mary Washington in action. Not against teams that they should necessarily lose to. But Penn State Harrisburg's already tripped up Christopher Newport this year, and that's who Wesley's playing on the road, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Messiah, number 17 team in the country on the men's side, playing Widener tonight. Widener's game, I believe, was delayed due to a shooting. Now, I think that was yesterday, outside the gym. Don't know more than that. It is not in a great neighborhood of Pennsylvania, outside Philadelphia, is Widener, but shocking if there's a shooting that was outside the gym. But I did not peruse the papers today to figure out if there was more behind that or not. So that's on the men's side. Games that have jumped out at me on the women's side of things. Wesley actually beat Penn State Harrisburg tonight, 43-40. That's a final. But number 9, FDU Florham is in action. Number 13, Montclair State is in action. Those two teams, again, affected by the winter storm that rolled up the East Coast yesterday, and so those games in action. We'll keep track of those. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll jump into our first guests of the evening and talk women's basketball with women's basketball coach Greg Todd. You are listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. When we be back, our Hoopsville hotline and start talking Division III. You're listening to Hoopsville. We'll be back right after this.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com, www.d3hoops.com.
Sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus. I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect all of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better
And welcome back to Hoopsville. I cannot wait to get a new computer to replace this one, to say the least. You are listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Twitter is where you can follow us, at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us, hoopsville at D3Hoops.com, Facebook at Facebook.com/Hoopsville. That's how you can interact with us, where you can ask us questions. You can ask our guests questions as well. Certainly encourage you to interact with us. It makes the show much more fun, to say the least. We know we have a number of you watching. We certainly appreciate you taking the time to do so. So we'll get to any of your questions if you're able to send them to us as quickly and as efficiently as we can. We're going to jump onto the Hoopsville hotline, and we're to our first guest here. Going to jump into the women's basketball realm here to start things off. And joining us on the Hoopsville hotline is from the Transylvania Pioneers women's basketball team, Coach Greg Todd. Team is 14-2 overall, 8-1 in the HCAC. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
Hey, thank you very much, Dave. Appreciate you having me on the show. First time, and certainly very excited to be on your show.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to join us. I got tired of talking to the other coach at Transylvania because I know he's listening. Of course, we're joking, our good friend Brian Lane. But, Coach, your team's having a terrific season. Of course, last year, 21-6. The year before, 14-8 or 14-13 was kind of the every once in a while season, as it were. You seem to have the program back up and running and playing at really good levels. Your only loss early in the season was to a very solid Maryville squad across the border in Tennessee, and of course you just lost the other night to Franklin. You got to like how your team's playing at this point.
We have been playing very well, thanks, Dave. And Coach Lane did mention the only reason we lost last night was I got invited to your show.
Come on.
We would have been
Brian.
We played a good Franklin team last night, and they just shot the lights out, and we tried to compete, but just couldn't quite get over the hump last night. But we are scoring, I think, school record for points, averaging about 85 points a game. I think in the top 10 nationally there, and we have an All-American in Nicole Kaufman, and she's averaging 20 points a game. Knock on wood, if she stays healthy, will probably be our all-time leading scorer, and she may only have that for a year. We have a sophomore, Caitlin Smith, who will potentially could break her record if both those young ladies stay healthy. But we have a well-balanced starting five, and we have a freshman who felt like was going to give us a real big spark, and was during the first part of the year. And right now she's out with a concussion, and we're excited to get her back in the mix with our group. But we did have an excellent year last year, and tried to build upon that this year. And we tied a school record for consecutive wins that we were hoping to break last night, but just didn't get over the hump last night.
I was going to say, you guys had won 14 in a row at that point. Something about Transylvania about to break a record or tying a win streak seems to crop up on them. The men's team a couple of years ago, same thing happened to them. Tied the best start in program history and then got tripped up in the next game. 13 in a row, though, pretty impressive to say the least. You talk about scoring. We'll get to the players in just a minute in a little bit more detail, but you have 4 100-plus games, 117-100. You beat non-Division III Midway. You beat Hanover 103-91. You beat Earlham 101-66. Bluffton 130-77. Last night you lose, but it's 91-83. You've got a whole handful of 90-point games. But then the funny thing is, every once in a while you crop up and get into a defensive battle. Southern Maine, you beat 68-56, which in most books is a high-scoring affair. It's not in yours. What's the difference in these 100-point games and then turn around and every once in a while throw up a 60-point game?
Yeah, that's a great question. The Southern Maine game, we were without our starting. That was a one game Madison Webb missed, and she's had a triple-double this year and been close a couple other games. And I think she's sort of our glue, keeps our group together, and just a fine offensive player. She played Division I basketball, had three knee surgeries, and I think is doing a really nice job for us. But that was part of the reason. Southern Maine a physical team. It was out in Arizona, a little more physical style, I think, from both teams. It was a lower scoring game, but we all in all, I think the last several games have been trying to get in the 90s, 100. That's more our pace. And last night we didn't shoot the ball as well from the perimeter as we have been, and but still were able to get the 83 points.
You talk about the team, and you guys are scoring 85 points a game pretty much. 68 points is your opponents. So you're outscoring your opponents by a landslide. You talk about the players. Nicole Kaufman, 20 points a game, hauling in 3.5 rebounds, handing out 3 assists a game, while shooting 45% from the floor. And then you mentioned Caitlin Smith. She's got nearly 19 points a game, 4.5 rebounds a game. She's also handing out quite a number of assists while shooting 47% from the floor. And don't let her shoot from beyond the arc. She's 42% from beyond there. Madison Webb, 12 plus points a game, nearly 11 points out of Alex McKenzie. I suspect Jordan Fender is the one you were talking about who's got the concussion, 9 points a game when she's in there. Alex Botkin, 7.5 points a game. Of course, the team's leading rebounder at 8 rebounds a game. She mentioned McKenzie at 7.5. You got a lot of different weapons from a lot of different parts of the floor. It seems like when you guys are clicking, things go really well.
We do. The balance, I think, certainly helps. Last year we had good balance, but I think this year it's been better. Particularly, we have Jordan in the mix, and we have another freshman who's getting better, Hannah Neely. A nice shooter, and has had 3 or 4 double-figure games, particularly since Jordan has been out. But it is unique to have the top 2 leading scorers in a conference, and looks pretty good that could continue the rest of the year. The way those 2 operate, and like I said, those 2 both have a legitimate shot of being the all-time leading scorers at Transylvania. So we're definitely at the top there, but it does go deeper than those 2, and we feel like offensively we're where we need to be, and defensively we're not as strong. We have to cover certain situations, and when a team gets as hot as Franklin did last night, it makes it a little bit tougher. But Indiana, as most people know, just has a lot of great basketball. Mm-hmm. And Franklin in girls basketball's had a great history, and of course Hanover, and you go through some teams with Manchester and down the line. There's just a lot of good teams in our conference. Maybe not always nationally ranked, but night in, night out, Indiana's not exactly where everybody wants to spend their time going up to play. You're very, and I'm saying that in a good way. There's just a lot of tough teams. We feel like night in, night out, and we do also have some Ohio teams who are not too shabby as well. And of course, we're the only Kentucky team in the Heart Conference. So.
Of course, another Indiana school in DePaul won the national championship last year. So yeah, Indiana certainly knows its basketball. If I'm reading correct, it only lists one senior in Madison Webb. If
that is correct, and Madison's actually a junior, but Madison with the 3 knee surgeries, she has enough credits to graduate. She is going to make this her last season, but would have one more year of eligibility. So she will be a tough one to replace. She does a lot of good things for this team. I think there's only been a handful of girls in all of D3 this season have a triple-double, and like I said, she's had one and flirted with two or three others, and so she will be missed. We feel like next year's team could potentially be stronger than this season.
That's what I think. Yeah,
certainly. My daughter is committed to coming to Transy next year, and I guess sounding like a dad on her, but she's about 6'2" or 6'3" and had a few Division I offers, and I think she will definitely add.
Watch it, Brian might steal her from you.
Right, Brian's got a fine son himself, doing great things at Lafayette. So
yeah.
We're both blessed there. So we feel like future is very, very good for us. But this year had to refocus a little bit after the loss last night. We're hoping to get on another winning streak here soon. We've got a tough Rose-Hulman team. Coach Prevo does a great job. He always gets the most out of his teams, and we will have a tough game in Terre Haute on Saturday.
Yeah, next three on the road: Rose-Hulman, then Earlham, and then Manchester on the road before returning home. Most of the games from here on out are actually on the road. You've got 6 games on the road of 4, 8, 9. So 6 of the next 9 to finish the season will be on the road. And I got to ask, you look at this conference, you guys have a game edge right now over Franklin, who's a game behind you. Hanover's 2 games back from there. Bluffton, Manchester, and Rose-Hulman 3 games behind you at 5 and 4 in the conference. The loss to Franklin certainly tightens up the ship, as it were, a little bit. What do you guys got to do, especially on the road here, to finish out strong, as strong as you had before?
Yeah, that's a great question. We know it's tougher on the road. I think our team was unique last year to be 21-6. We did not have a true road loss last year. We went undefeated in conference on the road. We lost maybe 1 or 2 neutral games, but it's sort of odd. And in this year's team, we've lost 2 games, both at home. We've played more games this year at home, but we've only played, I think, 3 or 4 road games, and we're undefeated this year. So we do have a nice streak on the road. I think we seem to focus very, very well, and we've not had a lot of close games this year, and sometimes that can hurt you a little bit. And last night, I think we knew we were going to get tested, and we didn't handle it real well. But I think it was a learning experience, and hopefully that will help us when we do get on the road and have some tougher games. We feel like our team should be a fine team in tougher games. It's just we've of all my years at Transy, we've just had more games in a 15 or 20 point fashion this year, and part of it's just our pace, and we've been able to play our style and our tempo. But we do know in the second half of the conference we'll have to definitely be able to will some wins and be tough and have some close wins, and that was strength last year, and we hopefully will be able to regain that in some tough games.
Well, congratulations on the start, 14-2, 8-1 in conference play. Obviously, playing pretty good basketball at this point. Got a, like I said, tough stretch ahead. 6 of the last 9 on the road, with the next 3 on the road. Rose-Hulman, Earlham, and Manchester. Look forward to seeing how the Pioneers do the rest of the way, Coach. And as always, we give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Well, we certainly appreciate everything you do, Dave, and the things that you've been able to do in the last several years has been awesome for all of D3. And I've been more of a high school coach over my career, and it's been just a tremendous experience being at Transylvania. It's actually going into my 8th year, and it seems like it's been a couple seasons. So, but thank you for all you do.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on the show. Certainly makes our job easier. Tell Brian to leave you alone, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, great. Thanks.
All right, take care. Greg Todd joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline. Appreciate him taking the time to join us on the show. Team is playing very well. Again, a loss to Maryville, Tennessee. That's not a bad loss in any way, shape, or form. Maryville playing very good basketball as well this season. The Scots are 13-3 themselves. Of course, Transylvania 14-2. Significant wins along the way. I mean, a win over Southern Maine is always a good start. That game was out, by the way, in Scottsdale, Arizona. But that's always a great win as well. So congratulations to the Pioneers. Team's 14-2 overall, 8-1 in the conference. Again, Earlham, Manchester, and Rose-Hulman, Earlham, and Manchester on the road the next 3 games before finally returning home on the 5th against Mount St. Joseph. They're then back on the road against Anderson and Franklin before coming home for 2, Defiance and Hanover before finishing the season on the road at Bluffton. 9 games left for the Pioneers, 6 of them on the road. Going to take another break. When we come back, we'll continue talking women's basketball, jump into the Mid-Atlantic region, and kind of go down the road, as it were, for me. We'll go talk Johns Hopkins women's basketball and talk with Coach Nancy Funk about her team and see how she thinks they're off to their start in Centennial play. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back with more Hoopsville right after this.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
And the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Division III allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Division III in athletics, affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
And to have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to basketball, it allows you to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday evening. Lots to talk about in Division III, especially as we get closer and closer. We're about 5.5 weeks from the end of the season, believe it or not. And don't forget, on Thursday, next Thursday, we will have a special Hoopsville episode, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. right out of our studios here. We're talking nothing but Division III basketball. Certainly hope you'll take the time to tune in. We'll have a plethora of coaches. Men's and women's will also we have booked the Vice President of Division III, Dan Dutcher, as well. Hopefully hear from both committee chairs and plenty more. So please tune in for that. That's next Thursday. It's all part of the Hoopsville fundraising project. For more information, go to our Twitter page, at D3Hoopsville, or our Facebook page, facebook.com/Hoopsville. Certainly can get more information there. That's also how you can interact with us. Twitter, at D3Hoopsville, or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. You can also join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville. Let's jump to the Hoopsville hotline, continue our conversation on the women's basketball side, and joining us from Johns Hopkins, team is 12-3 overall, is Coach Nancy Funk. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
Thank you, Dave.
Appreciate you taking the time on your busy schedule, as I know. All coaches are busy this time of year. Let's talk about your team and how you guys are doing. Team is 12-3 overall. You're a perfect 10-0 in the Centennial Conference. Have gone.
Well, it's exciting because we expected, and everyone expected us to be sort of, in the top 3 or 4 spots. But this team has really gelled early, and I couldn't be happier. And especially with a lot of players returning from injuries from last year, we needed to see who was going to give us what we needed, especially at the guard spot, key spot.
I was going to say, I know a lot of people thought the conference would be a little bit interesting, the Centennial. We'll talk more about it, but certainly I don't think everyone expected you guys, as you point out, to kind of steamroll ahead, 10-0 in the conference, 2.5 game lead, or game and a half game lead, I should say, on Haverford, and McDaniel's lurking back there along with Muhlenberg. Everybody else just seems to be beating the heck out of each other. You started the season with a loss to Salisbury, and then you just went on a roll. You won 4 games, Washington and Jefferson, Dickinson in conference, or Sinus in conference, and F&M in conference. You lose a tough game against Messiah on the road, which is a tough place to play anyway. Then you went back on a 4-game winning streak. Then you lost a game. Now you're on another 4-game winning streak. Certainly you've spread the losses out. How have you kept the team focused on rebounding off of those losses?
Well, they're non-conference losses, so our primary focus has been on the conference. And while those games were significant, just from a regional or / national perspective, they were good competition, and there were teams that we were in it, right to the very end of the game. So we felt that those games only strengthened us and taught us some good. We've just gone on from each one and put things back together again.
Yeah, I was going to say, the one loss that Salisbury's a tough squad, Messiah's a tough squad. You lose on the road down at Emory, and even Emory was saying that was a win that they were hoping for, kind of an old UAA matchup there, right. Conference game. Emory was hoping they could come out of that with a win. They only beat you by 5. Tell us a little bit about that game. That was one of those kind of a little bit off the beaten path types, especially considering 2 days beforehand you were playing Eastern Mennonite back up here in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. Well, we try to keep our association with a lot of the UAA schools as much as possible. We try to play one every couple of years, and Emory being ranked number 10 in the country at the time, we felt that it was a great opportunity for us and for my younger players to see what a number 10 team looks like. And I think the first half, I don't think my players came in with the idea they could hang with a team like that. And so we were off. We really were off our game. We weren't running our stuff. We were shots early in the group that had, and we came out and put our game together. And I think had we had a better start, I'm not going to say the outcome would have been different, but we definitely could have had an opportunity to pull that game out.
Certainly less stress for you in the first half. Let's look at the squad for yourself. You only have 2 seniors on the team. This is a somewhat young team. Of course, the leading scorer is a sophomore in Katie Clark. She's leading the team at 11.5 points a game, but it's by 1/10 of a point over the senior in, is it Fatou Kante?
Fatou. Fatou Kante.
Kante. So Fatou Kante is the senior on the squad who's second on the team really by a point, as we mentioned. Then you have a bunch of other players who are contributing, to be sure, but it looks like you look at the stats from everybody. Everybody's shooting well. Everybody is getting to the boards nicely. There's 5 people who seem to hand out a lot of the assists. Kante hands out the most, and Clark second, but everyone seems to contribute there. And you got a number of players who are scoring 6 or more points a game. This seems like a very well-rounded squad.
It is. We do have a lot of balance, and one of the things that has stood out to me from the get-go is Fatou's leadership. Just to see her come into her own and start playing like she did when she was a freshman and part of her sophomore year. She really played a lot like this. She really has stepped up as a senior, and led by example. And then Alyssa Fleming is an inspiration because she's coming off of 2 ACL surgeries over the course of her 4 years, and just to see her back out there and healthy, knock on wood, she's just putting her game together, and it's just a joy to be able to watch her play right now, healthy.
Yeah, well, especially coming off of 2 ACLs, I can only imagine what that's like for an athlete. This is a team, though, you're not afraid to go to the bench. You're 10 deep every single game. And then you even have a couple games. Janaea Smith's come out onto the court 13 times in the 15. So you're willing to go 10, 11 deep and keep that rotation humming along. What advantages have you seen that give you?
Well, it's definitely an advantage to give your younger players that kind of game experience, quality game experience, and so that's a nice feature out of that. And then the other thing is just that kind of balance. I have confidence in every single one of our players, and whatever mix they're into at that particular time, we try to practice that way. We try to mix our practice so that we're not always running our second 5 together, and we're not always running our second 5 together. I think that really helps us in a game situation.
Talking to Coach Nancy Funk of the women's basketball team at Johns Hopkins at Blue Jays, 10-0 conference play. Your 27th season, certainly 28th, correct? I'm sorry, misread. It says 27th season on completed her. I got to read everything correctly. Yeah, you're in your 28th season. Of course, you and Bill Nelson on the men's side have pretty much been the tandem there in basketball at Johns Hopkins. You've seen it all. You've had NCAA tournament runs. You've had tough seasons, to say the least. Last couple of years, you've had 20-plus win seasons. Last year, dipped back down to 16. Looks like you're back on your way. What's been the secret for this Hopkins program?
Well, I don't think there's one secret. I think that when you're fortunate enough to surround yourself with really good people, I have tremendous assistant coaches, and Katie Nelson and Wanda Richardson is in her 20th year as my assistant coach. I mean, you just can't ask for better people. And over the years, that's been the case. And then, when you're fortunate enough to get these great kids into your program who just really want to be there, they work hard, they're bright, I can throw anything at them, and they respond. I'm getting a little spoiled, I guess. And then to have a colleague like Bill Nelson has just been a blessing beyond measure. Just to have a colleague who's your counterpart who respects women's basketball, and of course his daughter is my assistant, so that kind of helps. But on top of that, it's been a really fun run to be colleagues with Bill Nelson. He's a guy I can bounce ideas off of, and just to have the mutual respect for each program. I'm really spoiled. That's all I can say.
I got before we get into conference play, I got to ask you and Bill have both been there for now 28th season. Begs the question: are you two both looking to retire at the same time? Have you discussed this? I don't know when it would happen, but it seems like you almost have to go hand in hand now.
Well, I've already threatened him. Because there was a moment where he was having a lapse of reason, and he was thinking about it, and I told him, no, that we came in together, we're going out together. So I'm still having so much fun, and I still have the energy for it. And as long as I have the energy for the kids, I'm sticking around. I love this team. This is a great and a fun team, and I've had so many good ones that keep me wanting to do this, but no, he's not going anywhere.
Whether he wants to or not, he is stuck.
That's right.
Wrapping up here with Coach Nancy Funk. Coach, before I let you, a couple more quick questions. One about the conference. We mentioned you have that game-and-a-half lead on Haverford, who's 8-1 in the conference. And then McDaniel 6-3, Muhlenberg 6-4, Gettysburg, Washington College, and the rest. This is a conference that has seen 4 teams getting this into the NCAA tournament. When Dickinson was up in the mix, Gettysburg was a little bit better. It seems to have fallen a little bit on tougher times. So you guys in Haverford certainly leading the way, and McDaniel's been a surprise this season as well. How do you see the makeup of this conference this year? Is this one of those where you guys are primed to win it, or are you going to get that challenge from Haverford, or is there somebody else lurking that maybe the records don't indicate how good they are?
I would never say that we are primed to win it in this conference. No way would you get me to say that. McDaniel is no surprise to me. They are a team that I consider them the most dangerous team in the conference. I consider them to be a team that could beat any one of us on any given night. They are deep. They have tremendous guard play, and I just think they have a lot of weapons. Haverford is a great team, and we played very well against them the first time, but I know that when we go there, it's going to be a battle. And Gettysburg is, I guess I'm a little surprised at them this year, but I think that they have the potential to come on really strong at the end. So I just don't discount anyone this year in our conference, especially those teams that are, hanging around in that 4-5 spot, that 3-4-5 spot.
The other question, Bryn Mawr, who decided right before the beginning of the season that they would play everybody, but it wouldn't count for conference action, and of course they wouldn't play them the second time around, so you only played them once. You ended up losing a game as a result of that. What's been the reaction around the conference? What was your initial reaction when kind of laced with that, a week or two before the season was supposed to start?
Well, I'd like to say no comment. The only thing I will say is that, yes, it put all of us in quite a bind to find a game, and we were able to get Eastern Mennonite on our schedule very quickly, and even get them to come to us, and we owe them a game now. But it really put everyone in a very difficult spot. What the future is with that situation, I have no idea, but we hope that we don't have to deal with that again.
Yeah, certainly, I can understand that. And finally, your husband is a well-respected ref in these parts on the men's side of things. I know when you're playing and he's at a gym that I am located at, he's always asking me what your scores are. Does he give you any tips and tricks to understanding the new rules when they come along?
Well, a little bit. I mean, it's funny. He was lurking around the corner just a minute ago, but he wanted to be remembered to you. But quite frankly, one thing that's great about Dave is that he's a good sounding board, and I'm usually wrong. I have to say, when I ask for a rule clarification or some situation, and we're watching a game, I'll call something, and he sees something entirely different, and it's those referee eyes that he's got that I don't have. So
you can't even win an argument with a referee when he's your own husband, Coach.
No. There's no way I'm winning that one.
Well, outstanding. Tell him I said hi. I'm sure I'll run into him at a gym in the next few weeks, to say the least. Well, Coach, thanks so much for coming on the show. I certainly appreciate it. Right down the street at Johns Hopkins. I do find the interesting quirk. You don't have one Maryland player on your roster, but you're doing well, so I don't think you need them.
We'd love to have more.
I'm sure. Congratulations on the 12-3 start, 10-0 in conference play. Looking forward to seeing how you guys do. Of course, coming up, we got Muhlenberg here on Saturday at home before traveling to McDaniel on the 28th. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
No, good luck to everyone. I love the competition, and I really thank you for this opportunity to be on with you, Dave, and this is a great honor.
Well, thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. Take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Yep. Nancy Funk joining us from Johns Hopkins. Team is 12-3 overall, 10-0 in conference play. Again, big matchup against Muhlenberg coming up on Saturday, and then next Wednesday they will be at McDaniel. That's a game sometimes I would usually get the chance to see, but I don't think what does my schedule have next Wednesday? Hold on. I'm kind of curious if I'm going to see the Blue Jays next Wednesday, as soon as everything calls up here. Next Wednesday, I am not going to see the Blue Jays. That's unfortunate. But we'll catch them sometime. Actually, they're playing Tuesday, so I am going to see them. My bad. I will see the Blue Jays at McDaniel. So looking forward to seeing those two teams take the floor. Two teams, men's and women's, 28th season for both coaches. But can't thank you, Coach Nancy Funk, for joining us. We're a little bit behind schedule, so we'll get going here, as it were. Coming up next, one more women's basketball coach, and then we'll switch into some men's basketball action. We'll talk to women's basketball coach Lindsay Sharman at William Smith. Her team having a very good season as well. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Back with more Hoopsville after this.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
Opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
And the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. On a Thursday evening, lots to talk about around Division III, keeping track of scores. I know Messiah women defeated Widener women, only because I saw it on a tweet. Don't forget the hashtag for the show, Hoopsville. Tweet Hoopsville, or use at D3Hoopsville on your Twitter, on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville, and of course, as always, on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Also email hoopsville@d3hoops.com. Forgot in the last segment we were talking Mid-Atlantic basketball on the men's side of things. Dickinson lost last night, so they will not go undefeated in the Centennial Conference. What's interesting is the only team to have done that was Ursinus. I believe that was 07-08. Of course, Ursinus right now on track to not win a game in the conference. They are struggling mightily at Collegeville, but Ursinus was the only team to go undefeated, and Dickinson will not match that feat as they lost last night in Centennial play. See how Dickinson, who was knocking on the doorstep of entering the top 25 in men's basketball, they were number 26. We'll see how that affects their voting. I can tell you I'm one of the voters, and now I got to think about that scenario. Quickly on men's basketball, ranked teams in action right now. Wesley is defeating Penn State Harrisburg in CAC play 25-17 with 4:40 left to go in the first half. At the half, Sage is beating SUNY Purchase 38-37. We'll keep an eye on that one. Also, Mary Washington and Southern Virginia playing. Don't have a score right now. That game underway. Those are your 3 top 25 games on the men's side. On the women's side, if my computer, which we are replacing sometime soon, gets up and running, FDU Florham is playing Eastern and Montclair State is playing Rowan. Do not have scores from there right now, but we'll keep track of that as well. Let's go back to the Hoopsville hotline, and we're going to stay with women's basketball and jump from the Mid-Atlantic region up into the East, and that means going to upstate. And joining us on the Hoopsville hotline is East Region, or I should say William Smith women's basketball coach Lindsay Sharman. Sorry, Coach. Can't speak today. Hope you are well. Team is 12-2 overall. Coach, you got to be pretty happy with how things are going so far this season.
Yeah, definitely. I can't complain.
Of course, it's cold up there. We'll get to more of that in a bit on the Finger Lakes as it is. But let's talk about the team. 12-2, as we mentioned, riding what is an 11-game winning streak. Certainly playing good basketball. After starting the season 1-2, you're 5-0 in conference play. You got the win over Bard about 5 days ago, and you'll play Skidmore tomorrow night. I know you can't complain, but you've got a 2-game lead on St. Lawrence right now in the conference, which has taken on some delays. If you look back at the season, besides the start, is it how you kind of drew it up? Did you expect to be this good this season?
Yeah, I did. I thought we were really on the cusp last year, and I think We have a lot of players returning, especially we have a strong senior class, talent-wise, but also leadership-wise, which is, probably one of the more important things. We came off a tough 3-point loss in our conference championship last year, so that we had that fueling us over the summer. And then I thought, a lot of our returning players really did a great job in the off season and got better. And I thought, we already had the talent to begin with, but they just started putting it together. So I don't know if I thought we'd be 12-2. You can never predict that, but I thought. I thought we would, do pretty well this year, and kind of hoping we would get off to a good start heading into league play.
It started, the season, we mentioned that kind of a 1-2 start. You lost to Ithaca, who, has been a perennial power in the East. You beat Keuka and then lost to St. John Fisher in a tough one, that game at Nazareth, before then facing Nazareth. I should say that's part of the Wendy's Classic. And because you then played Nazareth, of course, at RIT. That's just how it works. You played at Nazareth and lost to St. John Fisher, and then played Nazareth at RIT.
Right.
And then you guys, that game kind of steamrolled from there. You beat Brockport State, you beat Buffalo State, and Potsdam State down at Daytona Beach. Was that planned, by the way, that all of you SUNYX and East Region teams decided to go down to Daytona to play each other?
Everybody's just trying to get to a warmer
Get warm.
place.
I can't blame you.
Yeah, it wasn't, we weren't sure who we were playing when we signed up for the tournament. That's how it ended up working. I think there were 8 women's teams, and somehow the 3 of us got matched up. But, I think we were all just running to warm weather.
Yeah, I can imagine that. But it's funny that you guys all went that far just to play each other right
my
nearby.
AD thought the same thing.
Yeah, well, exactly, because then you returned home and played Cortland State. Beat them, beat Rochester, beat RPI, Skidmore, Rochester Tech, Vassar, and Bard. Of course, Vassar, who's on top of this conference right now, or was on top of the conference playing well. They're a game behind you at 11-3. Yep. Tell me a little bit about the conference before you go into your team. I mean, St. Lawrence is looming, 6-5, but 3-0 in the conference. Vassar 11-3, 4-1, certainly getting a lot of attention. But it seems like it's just you two, Vassar and William Smith. Yes, St. Lawrence is looming, but everybody else is kind of struggling this year. Is this a 2-horse race, and can both of you guys get to the NCAA tournament?
I don't know if it is really, though. I know from a record standpoint it looks that way, but there is a lot of talent in our conference, and it's, you really have to bring your A game every day. So I think there's definitely some upsets and some things that'll be happening in our conference at some point. Hopefully not with us, but you never, but you never know. I definitely think there's some teams that are going to beat some of the top teams, but I think from a talent standpoint, experience standpoint, I think Vassar and William Smith and St. Lawrence to a degree, but Vassar and William Smith kind of have the returns. It's all about those veteran players, really, to just kind of get the group going. And I think Vassar's got a couple key seniors. We've got 4 key seniors. And I think, and you put that together with talent, obviously, but that leadership's really crucial. And I think, that's why you're seeing a little bit of a disparity at this point. But I think, other teams are figuring it out, and it'll be a dogfight down to the end, I'm sure. I mean, the last few years it's been, 6 teams fighting for 4 spots down the stretch. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Let's talk about the team. Currently 12-2, as we mentioned. Best 14-game start since 07-08 when you guys went 13-1. And, of course, 11-game winning streak is the best since a 15-game winning streak the same year. You mentioned the seniors. You start, Sasha Bornstein. By the way, how you get someone from Agoura Hills, California to upstate New York, you should get a raise just for that. Averaging 13.3 points a game, shooting 47% from the floor and nearly 50% from beyond the arc, which is, I think, second best in the country. You got Jacqueline Murphy, who's playing well. For you, she's kind of your monster rebounder, nearly 10 a game, and shoots 51%, though doesn't put a ton of points on the board. According to the notes from your esteemed SID, third Heron to get 800 career rebounds. And then you got senior Aaron O'Brien from Buffalo. See, Buffalo and Slingers Lands, New York, those sound like more like recruits for you. 11.5 points per game for O'Brien. She's 5th in the career assist mark. She's averaging 4.5 assists a game. By the way, don't put her on the free throw line, 82%. Those are certainly your big three. But you have other players who are certainly contributing as well. Don't want to ignore junior forward Chloe Hayter as well.
Yep.
But Aaron O'Brien, 11.5 points a game. Jacqueline Murphy, 8.6 points a game with 9.5 rebounds. Oh, by the way, you got a lot of weapons on this squad.
Yeah, and I think there's the balance. We're kind of starting to put it together with our inside game and our outside game, and I think we definitely have a lot of the pieces like you mentioned, and I think it's just they're starting to really play well together, and the balanced scoring is key. We don't need to force the ball inside. We have other options, in our offense, and I think that's what we've kind of figured out finally, and we're starting to put it together that it's not really one person we have to rely on. We've got a lot of different options on the offensive end, and I think that's really helping us right now. And different people step up each game. We had a first year step up against Vassar, Melanie Patterson. She had a great game for us in the second half. She must have had 8 to 10 points in the second half, and that was really critical. And I think that's the key, is just having different people step up when we need them.
Of course, Hayter, the junior, at 14.8 points a game, 8.2 rebounds. But what jumps out at me is as far as players who played every game, there's 6. I'm sorry, am I right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's 6.
Yeah.
You then go a little bit deeper. You can go as far as 9 deep, but after that, not a lot of playing time. This seems like you've got a core group that you certainly are entrusting this team with, and you're going to throw in the Pilaska, the Breen, the Chase when you need to supplement as well. But you've got a core group. It's playing well. Why ruin it?
Yeah, and I think it's about the chemistry. I think that's the key. And so we have 6 first years on it. We have 4 seniors and 6 first years, and then two. So I think while we have a lot of talent in that first year class, I think the key is just getting them into the mix from a chemistry standpoint. So they've been able to step up here and there, but I think that group of 6, 7 just has such a great chemistry that they just do such a great job reading each other. That's been nice to have for sure. And our first years are definitely ready to step up when we need them, but I think that's the part where they're just starting to transition into that kind of the flow of the college game a little bit.
This is a program won 3 Liberty League regular season championships in 2011, 2008, and 2006. But the last time you guys won the championship overall was 2006. Last time you made the NCAA tournament was 2008. Is there a mentality that this is the team to take advantage of this scenario with, that you can get to the NCAA tournament, you can win the regular season and a conference title in this year?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And the nice thing is, even though it's been a little while, I think they feel that way too, and that's what you worry about as a coach. They haven't really had the taste of it yet, and so they don't really, sometimes you don't know what you're missing really. But I think they're hungry for it, and I think again, coming within 3 points of getting to that tournament last year is it's such a key motivator. It's just we talk about it every day. We talk about it all the time. If we get complacent, this is what will happen. And so. So I think that's definitely, it's not something you wish for, but it's something we've taken advantage of, having that learning experience.
And then finally, you got 2 on the road, or at home, I should say, Skidmore and RPI coming up this weekend. You'll play them tomorrow and Saturday. Then you got the next 4 on the road, Union, St. Lawrence, Clarkson, and Rochester Tech. No weekend games there. Before finishing the season with 5 at home. So an interesting schedule here. Obviously, you want to protect the home court, but how key will that road trip be with Union, St. Lawrence, Clarkson, and Rochester Tech?
Yeah, it definitely will be, especially in the middle, in the heart of your league play, jumping back on the road. But I thought, I think we started off so well on the road. We've had 4 out of the last 5 on the road, 2 weekend trips, and we're able to win all 4 of those ones on the road, and so I think that's great because we have that experience and we can kind of use that as we go on the road in the middle part of the season. But those will be crucial. But I think if we take care of business at home and we keep building, I think that will help us. I mean, that's really what the record is. We keep talking about it, but the record for us is just it's confidence going into other games. It's not. Other than that, you have to take care of business in the league. The record really means nothing at this point.
Sure.
So.
Wrapping things up here with Lindsay Sharman, the women's basketball coach at William Smith. Of course, if you're curious, Hobart William Smith, the combined college, but the Athletics keep the tradition, which I certainly like, of splitting the names. Of course, a beautiful campus if you've never been to upstate New York, right there on the Finger Lakes of upstate. And I ask because I know the tradition. Has the Finger Lake, all of this freaking cold that you guys have had up there, especially, has Seneca Lake actually frozen over?
Not yet. No, it's deep. It's it's surprising, but it's just so deep. But I mean, I can't.
The tradition, if anyone's curious, if a Seneca Lake freezes over, everybody gets it. Well, good luck on that. I can only wish you the best if that thing freezes over. Maybe you'll get a nice extra day off there. The cold's coming back. You never know.
That's right.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the start of the season. 12-2, as we mentioned, 5-0 in conference play. Certainly nothing to sneeze at. You guys are playing very good basketball. Looking forward to seeing how the team does the rest of the way. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
No, just thanks for having us, and I'm just excited where these young women are taking the program right now.
Well, very good. We're excited as well. Looking forward to seeing how you guys do the rest of the way, especially on that 4-game road trip. And hopefully we'll be talking about you come March.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Take care, Coach. Coach Lindsay Sharman joining us here on Hoopsville. Again, team is 12-0, 5-0 in conference play. Looking forward to seeing how they do the rest of the way. Skidmore coming up, is their first of 2 games this weekend. For more information, follow them as well. We're going to take a break. We're behind schedule. We're going to get to our School of the Week coming up, and that is on the men's basketball side, Shriner down in Texas. We're jumping all over the country here tonight. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back with more Hoopsville right after this.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday evening. It's kind of a theme we always say. Scores from around Division III basketball tonight. We had a few games moved to tonight, so it certainly makes the evening more interesting. Score to keep an eye on right now in top 25 action. Number 14, SUNY Purchase is playing Sage. 17-12 left to go in the second, and Sage has a 41-39 lead. Number 15, Mary Washington having an easy time with Southern Virginia so far, 24-12. That's midway through the first. And almost at halftime, Wesley up on Penn State Harrisburg, 31-26. Keep an eye on that one as well. Wesley, the number 12 ranked team in the country. Looking at final scores, nothing really jumping out at me on the men's side of things. Women's side, 2 top 25s in action, have not seen a score from them as of yet, though those games are well underway, if not done. So we'll check out FDU Florham and Montclair State. Those games should be finished. We'll keep an eye out there. We're going to jump to men's basketball and talk School of the Week. And our School of the Week is Schreiner. Their men's basketball team 9-7. That doesn't jump out at you, but in their first year in conference action, they are 5-0 in the SCAC. And joining us on the Hoopsville hotline is Coach Jimmy Smith. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Glad to be with you.
Absolutely, glad you could join us. Certainly, plenty to talk about when it comes to Schreiner. Not only the fact that you guys are 9-7, but the fact you're 5-0 in conference play, I think, jumps out at me the most. Winter storm warnings up for most of that state. Everything okay? You guys make it to your destination all right?
We made it. We just got to Sherman not too long ago. It's pretty cold, but, we can't complain too much. It doesn't get cold too often here, so we'll take it.
Yeah, well, it doesn't get cold there ever is really what we should be saying.
That's true.
You're playing Austin tomorrow night, and then you'll be on the road all the way to Louisiana and play Centenary there on Saturday. I don't know if the conference wants you in here right now. You guys leave the ASC for the SCAC, and you start off 5-0 in the conference. Has Coach Pat Cunningham or anybody or Coach Raleigh at Southwestern or anybody else called you up and said, "Hey, listen, this isn't what we agreed to"?
Not yet. Maybe if we win a few games, we might get that going. But so far, everyone's been very welcoming, and it's been nice to be a member of the SCAC.
You leave of course, things for yourself. You're in your second season, I think, at Schreiner, if memory serves. So you've already had to coach in two different conferences. What's just when you get used to the ASC, you leave for the SCAC. How's the adjustment period gone for you?
It's going well. The ASC was kind of what I was used to, playing at Mary Hart Baylor, and then being an assistant there before coming to Schreiner. So that's kind of all I knew was the ASC, and so it's been a nice little change here. Play some different opponents, and the SCAC we get a lot more non-conference games, which is nice, and so far so good.
This is a conference that got pulled apart a little bit from its old days. ASC, you leave it just in time before they go to 22-game schedule. So a lot of things have changed. What's kind of the mentality down in Texas? The SCAC's trying to rebuild itself. The ASC's kind of growing at the same time losing an opponent. I mean, is there just kind of a feeling of trying to settle in and figure out where everything fits right now in Texas?
I think so. I think the SCAC is happy where they're at. I think there's always the possibility of maybe adding a couple more teams in the future. And then I think the ASC they're also just trying to figure out what the best way to do things is, with losing some teams and then Mississippi leaving after this year. I think they lost maybe their football AQ. So just trying to sort everything out, So it's interesting to sit back and watch. But, I like where our conference is at. I think we're in a good spot moving forward. So, I wish the ASC had a little more non-conference action so we could travel all over to play different people. But, maybe that'll happen in the future.
Yeah, you look at your schedule. By the way, you guys started off by heading up to Washington, I should say. You played Pacific Lutheran and Puget Sound, came back home and played Mary Hardin Baylor. And then we're on the road against Hardin Simmons and Concordia, Texas, Rhodes and Hendricks, all Division III opponents. Your non-Division III is Texas A&M Kingsville. Then you played Concordia, Texas, and Pomona Pittsburgh, this time at Trinity, and Baldwin Wallace down there as well at Trinity before you finally got in conference play. So you certainly loaded up the schedule with some good opponents. And you struggled off the bat. 5 of 6 games you lost. You beat Hardin Simmons, though. That's impressive. But Pacific Lutheran, Puget Sound, Mary Hardin Baylor, Concordia, Texas, and Rhodes tripped you up. Then you got the win over Hendricks. You lost to Concordia, Texas. But then you got on a winning streak. You beat Pomona Pitzer. You beat Baldwin Wallace. What changed? Because then you went into conference play and you've rattled off 5 straight there.
I think the biggest thing with us is two things. I mean, one, still being a new coach, we're still trying to, teach the guys the way we want things done. And number two, we have a lot of young guys. We have 14 guys with us on this trip, and 8 of them are freshmen. So we've got a pretty young group all in all, and I think we're just kind of figuring out what the college game's all about and finding our rhythm and what rotations work best. But the plan was to challenge ourselves early, and I think we did that. Pacific Lutheran hit a 3 at the buzzer to beat us, and then Puget Sound, we were up 10 at the half, and they came back and beat us, and we just lost a lot of close games early that we didn't finish. And, I think things really turned for us against Concordia the second time. We were down, I think, 18 with about 8 minutes to go, and came all the way back and tied it, and then they banked in a three-pointer with about 3 seconds left to beat us. But since that, we hadn't lost, and I think we kind of figured out how we needed to play and in that game, and we've just been playing like that ever since. So it's been fun. It's been fun to see the team grow and evolve, and we're just trying to keep things rolling.
Of course, you beat then number 25 Colorado College 71-58. You've beaten University of Dallas, as we mentioned. Things are going along pretty nicely. Let's talk about the team a little bit more specifically. To be sure, this is a team that is deep in sense of numbers. You have a couple of seniors on the squad, I think 4. You have a whole host of juniors, but a lot of freshmen. Not too surprising considering you just took over the program last year. You're led by A.J. Myers, 19.5 points a game, hauling in 3.5 rebounds a game. He's shooting 51% from the floor. 15.5 points from Steven Guerrero. He's hauling in 6 rebounds a game, shooting 48% from the floor. The number that jumps out at me in terms of just stats is a guy you've played 14 times, and that's Maverick Harris, shooting 57% from the floor. But it's mainly those two guys, A.J. Myers and Steven Guerrero, who are your big scoring threats. Harris comes out third at 5.8 points a game. Is this just because the team's growing? Because you are playing a ton of guys this season.
Yes, I mean, Steve and AJ were definitely the guys that we knew were going to kind of be our leaders and get things going for us. They were both all-conference players in the ASC last year and our 2 starting guards. So, we knew they were going to have to carry us early, especially, with the young group we had. And they did that. They were scoring a lot of points and keeping us in games. And as the season's continued, we've had more guys, kind of step up, and you see some of those scoring averages go up and rebound averages, and it's been fun to see. Definitely things start with those 2 guys, but the last couple of games, like when we won at Trinity, Steve went I think 1 for 10 from the field, and we were still able to win on the road against a good team. And then against Colorado, AJ I think was 2 for 12, and we had a couple freshmen that scored in double figures. So we're playing a lot of guys, but the beauty of it is they've all kind of bought into the fact that we're pretty strong as a unit. We've got a lot of different guys that have different strengths that can do different things. And, one game it's one guy, and the next game it's another one. And instead of kind of hanging their heads about their minutes going up and down, they've just come in and produced when they needed to. And it's really worked for us so far.
Talking to Coach Jimmy Smith, head coach at Schreiner, the Mountaineers, 9-7 overall, but 5-0 in the SCAC, and that's important because you position yourself well there. You can position yourself potentially for an NCAA tournament bid. Of course, right behind them, Colorado College and Trinity, Texas, 4-1 in conference play, and then there's everybody else as well. Of course, Colorado College has gotten the headlines so far in this conference. Got to quickly ask before we do other things. Obviously, you talk about coaching at Mary Hardin Baylor. You played at Mary Hardin Baylor under Coach DeWeese. What was it like to see that team make it to the NCAA championship game in Atlanta last year for you?
It was interesting. It was kind of tough because when you take the job, at Schreiner we're in the same division as Mary Hardin Baylor last year, and so all you can think about is really just wanting to beat those guys because as a player, Coach DeWeese's one of his favorite things was, if you guys don't think I know what I'm doing, go get yourself a team, and I'll play you as many times as you want to play, and I'll beat you, And so in the back of your head, you're like, all right, I got my team now, and we're gonna go play, and you want to win. But once we got eliminated from the conference tournament, I was rooting for those guys and was able to make it down to the championship game. It was an awesome experience, and I wish they would have won it, but still, what a great deal for them and for the conference and for Texas to get there finally. So it was a lot of fun to watch. It really was.
Gotta ask, you are a school of the week, so we got to have a little fun with it if you don't mind. No, it's not by the orders of Coach Cunningham or Coach Raleigh. So if you don't mind, we want to ask you 5 questions as part of our school of the week. It's 5 questions regarding the athletic department or the school or your program. And I mean your program in the sense of the history of the program. And so if you don't mind, we'll just have a little fun. 5 questions, see how you do, all right?
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Good answer, because we're going to ask them anyway. All right, so these are in no particular order, but we'll have some fun with it. First and foremost, Captain Charles Schreiner founded Schreiner in 1923. What was his occupation?
Oh, good question. I'm going to say he was a blacksmith. I have no idea.
Well, you had three opportunities here because he was a rancher, a merchant, and a Texas Ranger.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. What year did Schreiner actually, though, become a 4-year institution?
How about 1998?
That's not a bad guess. 1981.
81,
yep.
Okay.
All right, so a little bit closer to your roots. Since joining the NCAA in 1999, what is the record for wins for Schreiner basketball?
13.
You are correct, sir. Done in 2011, 2012. I think I know who might have coached that team. Good man. When the Schreiner Mountaineers were in the NAIA, who led the NAIA with 891 points in 93-94?
I don't know that one.
Dwight Govan. Dwight Govan.
Dwight Govan, okay.
And then finally, this one, I like this question a bit, and you'll understand why in a minute. Name the NFL Hall of Famer that attended Schreiner. Notice I said attended.
Attended Schreiner, NFL Hall of Famer. I don't know. I don't know that one either.
Raymond Berry.
Raymond Berry, okay.
Since I'm in the Baltimore area, it's rather appropriate that question would come up. Former Baltimore Colt wide receiver, famous for several reasons he's famous, but one for playing in the greatest game ever played. He's from Corpus Christi, so that kind of explains some of that. So I hope you didn't mind. You can blame your SID for some of those questions.
That's fine. I didn't fare so well, so I'm sure
I'll
take some grief with that.
That's all right. You did fine. Teams coming up. You got Austin, as we mentioned, tomorrow night, and Centenary in Louisiana coming up on Saturday. What do you guys got to do on this road trip before you return home against the same very 2 teams?
I think the biggest thing is just keep doing what we're doing. Both these teams have not played a conference home game yet, so both their first 4 games are on the road, and both teams have played well. So we got to come and play a good game to beat both of them. So it's just everyone's got to come in and contribute like they have been. So that's no crazy formula. We just got to keep doing what we're doing.
Makes sense to me. By the way, I do see you have Trinity and Southwestern coming up. I suspect Raleigh and Cunningham are coming after you.
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely. I expect good efforts from both their teams, no doubt.
Well, we see you in Salem, sir, whether your team makes it or not.
Yes, I'm going to try and make it again. I made it once, and that was awesome. So I would love to get back there and try to figure out a way. My parents live in Charlotte, so it's a nice way to see both things.
Very good. Well, hey, if we see you there, we'll get a drink. Otherwise, take care of yourself. Good luck the rest of the way. Certainly look forward to having you, and thanks for being on the show.
All right, thanks a lot, Dave. I appreciate it.
Yep. Take care, Coach.
All right, we'll see you later.
See ya. Coach Jimmy Smith joining us from Shriner. Team 9-7 overall, but that 5-0 in the SCAC is your most important number. Beat Colorado College last weekend, looking to beat Austin and Centenary on the road this weekend before returning home against Austin and Centenary. Then they'll go on the road, Colorado College and University of Dallas, then Southwestern and Trinity at home before finishing up with Texas Lutheran. Literally, it's their schedule in reverse. Their schedule is exactly mirrored what they did to start the conference action as they take the turn here this last weekend. They'll get back into the regular things. Or I should say after this weekend, they'll get turned around and back into SCAC play. Thanks, Coach Smith, for joining us here on Hoopsville. Going to take a break. When we come back, we will jump from Texas up to Ohio, who certainly knows a thing or two about cold weather. Mount Union's men's basketball coach will join us. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Back with more Hoopsville right after this.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really is the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
At the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Keeping some eye on some top 25 scores going on around men's and women's basketball. We'll keep an eye on those. Have not gotten a score update. Last I checked on the 2 women's games, it should be done. Number 9, FDU Florham, and number 13, Montclair State. Of course, those games being played because of bad weather in the East Coast the last couple of days. Big snowstorm on Tuesday delayed things into Wednesday. New Jersey got socked with a foot plus of snow. On the men's side of things, Wesley's in a dogfight now with Penn State Harrisburg. Wesley was up somewhat comfortably. Now they are not. Number 12, Wesley trailing Penn State Harrisburg on the road, 37-36. That's about 5 minutes into the second half. We mentioned that SUNY Purchase was in trouble. They are still in trouble. Sage leads that game over SUNY Purchase, 60-57, 9-11 left to go in that game. That game also on the road for SUNY Purchase. The other top 25 game is not even in question on the men's side. Mary Washington up on Southern Virginia right now, 66-35. 146 left to go. And there is one other men's top 25 game. Messiah is at Widener. That game also made up due to weather. I've got tweets about it, but I haven't seen a score, I don't think. Last I saw about 5-6 minutes ago was 13-8, Messiah leading. But it looks like Messiah might be having some turnover problems. We'll try and keep an eye on that score as well. So keep an eye on all of that. We'll try and give you a score update on the women's side of things as well as soon as we can. Those games in New Jersey just don't have any live stat links, so we'll try and do our best there. I'm going to go back to the hoop. By the way, if you have any questions for us or our guests, email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville@d3hoops.com. You can also join us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. All those ways of being able to interact with us, we certainly hope you will take advantage of them when you get the opportunity, and we'll look forward to hearing from any questions that you may have along the way. Let's go back to the Hoopsville hotline, and joining us there from Ohio is in the Great Lakes region is Coach Mike Feuline, joining us from the Raiders of Mount Union. Team is 14-3 overall, just taking a bit of a nice break here for us. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
I appreciate you having us on. I really do.
Absolutely. I'm glad we could get you on the show. You're a right good friend of the show. We appreciate him doing the hard work for us and making this happen. Of course, 13-3 overall, 8-1 in the conference. You took a tough loss back on, I believe that was Monday against Capital. That game, a makeup game, am I not mistaken?
It was a makeup game.
Yep, and unfortunately, Capital was the one who made it up, 88-70, the win there. But you got back on the horse against Muskegum, winning that game on the road, 73-50. First and foremost, how has the season gone in your eyes after a 2-2 start? You're 13-3.
Oh, we're excited. We started off with some key injuries. At the beginning of the year with our starting five-man, Taylor Moore, breaking his ankle and his leg and has to miss this year. And then our starting four-man, Stevie Griffin, broke the foot in the second game versus Bethany. So we have had numerous guys just step up every single game, and it's been such a pleasure to watch. We pride ourselves on being selfless as a team, and so far we have. So I couldn't be more proud of our guys. We took one on the chin there against Capital on Monday. They just outworked us and outplayed us, which is regretful. But they're a talented team and supremely coached as well.
This is a conference that I think, Marietta was certainly getting a ton of attention early in the season. They're 12-4, a game behind you at 7-2. Wilmington got the win over a D1 early in the season. They're 10-5, 7-2. John Carroll has usually gotten the headlines for a number of years, but they've fallen off. But they're having a decent year, 11-5, 5-4. Of course, Baldwin Wallace has been in the headlines. Ohio Northern has garnered attention. Capital has as well. This has been a deep conference. Even Heidelberg has usually been in the conversation, though certainly not having a great year. What's the makeup of this conference? It just seems like it's a new beast at the top after years of maybe John Carroll kind of shouldering the load, as it were.
Well, they're still very talented. They're still a tough team, especially at their place. The best way I can describe our league is just an absolute grind. I'm sure every coach comes on here and talks about their league, and ours is no exception. From top to bottom, it's just a supremely talented league. And you look at Heidelberg, who we face on Saturday. I think they've lost 5 league games by 2 points. They lost in double overtime to John Carroll. So there are no nights off, and you play 18 of those things, man, and it's tough. It's tough. You try to pride yourself on winning at home, and then trying to sneak some on the road, and that's what been our success so far. We haven't lost at home, and we hope to continue that, throughout the next couple months.
I was going to ask, is the conference is the way it's shaping up? You only have a game lead right now on Marietta and Wilmington, and John Carroll's quietly behind you with Baldwin Wallace 3 games back. You got 4 teams already with 10 or more wins. Is this going to be just a dogfight down to the very end? Is this going to be one game can really swing things either way?
Absolutely, and as coaches, we know that. I think all of our players are just trying to take it one game at a time. Who's next on the schedule, coach, type of deal, and that's probably the best way to look at it. If you look too far ahead, you'll drive yourself crazy. I've been a victim of doing that myself at times, but I think now we're just focused, especially after Capital. We got refocused on who's the next game and how do we prepare for that game, and then try to win it and move on. And in this league, there's no such thing as a bad win. I think any coach would tell you a 1-point win on the road or at home at this point, as talented as these teams are and as well coached as they are, we would all take.
Yeah, to start the season, you guys beat Pitt Greensburg and then lost to Bethany, and then you guys went to Rochester and what is 10-6 Hartwick squad, then lost to a Rochester squad that is certainly not at its usual, vicious self, as it were, on December 1st. That game, of course, Rochester now 7-7. But then you right yourselves. You play John Carroll, beat them in a barn burner, 113-100, and you've rattled off until the Capital game. You just rattled off win after win, a total of I think it was 10 straight wins, and culminated it in a 7-0 conference mark. you lose that Capital game. How much do you fall back on the Rochester game? How much do you fall back on the Bethany game going, okay, guys, it's just a matter of getting ourselves back on the boat because, Muskegon's next, Heidelberg's next, John Carroll's next. Oh, by the way, Capital is looming on the corner. How much do you hearken back on those other games?
Well, you have to. You have to refocus, especially on the defensive side of the floor. We have some guys who we still are relatively young, who don't value that side maybe as much as they should. After a loss, you seem to get everybody's attention, and you go back and watch the film, and you learn. We're still in a learning process. We certainly want to win as we learn. And Rochester was a great tournament. Two really talented teams. Rochester may be the best 7-7 team in the country because they are talented and well coached, and I'm sure they'll be there at the end. But like I said, if you look ahead of our schedule, you can go crazy. So we're just focusing on practice tomorrow, trying to prepare for Heidelberg. Certainly coming off a win at Muskingum on the road. Saturday will be our fifth game here in about 9 days. So we're just trying to get fresh, get prepared, and like I said, really focus on Heidelberg and then turn that page and move on.
13-3 mark matches all the wins you guys had last season, which was high for a number of years. You guys have been stuck below 500 for a long time, but 13-3 pretty much beats the record last year. Sets you guys up pretty nicely. This is a team that has two seniors on it, has two juniors, I think, whole mess of sophomores and a whole mess of freshmen. Are you guys, pardon the phrase, peaking maybe even a little early by your standards?
I would be lying if I didn't tell you I was a little surprised so far, but we do have some talented young guys, and like I said, we preach family in our program, and we've pulled together and we've picked each other up. When guys have had some down games, other guys have come off the bench and contributed nicely. I can go down the lineup and tell you certain games that the guys have pretty much carried us on their shoulders and maybe only played 5 or 6 minutes the next. But yes, relatively young. But when you have two seniors like we do, and Jimmy Darley and TJ Gillespie, they've been through the coaching change. This is my third year now at Mount Union, and are two of the best captains I've ever had. In coaching, when they're there and they lead you every single day, and they demand your respect. And those freshmen understand the hurt we had last year, the way it ended, and that's kind of been our focus now coming in. Into this year, and we have a reminder all the time of how that game ended. We certainly want to bounce back from that and have another opportunity.
Talking to men's head coach Mike Feuline from Mount Union. Appreciate him taking the time to join us here, talking men's basketball for Mount Union. And certainly a terrific season. Let's talk about this team a little bit. Led by Cody Dillon, a sophomore, 13.5 points a game, 4.2 rebounds a game. TJ Gillespie, one of your two seniors, 12.8 points a game, playing very well. He's hauling in 2.5 rebounds a game. Jarrett Ruffin's got 6.5 rebounds a game and 12.5 points. He's a sophomore. And it goes on. Nate, is it Jakubek? Jakubek. I like that actually better. Nate Jakubek. It's much better than my version. He's the junior, nearly 10 points a game, and certainly contributing in other facets of the game as well. You play a lot of guys. I mean, if you look at how many guys have played 16 games, I think I'm at least at 10 here. You're not afraid to go deep on the bench, and you're getting rewarded for it.
We are, and hopefully that keeps us fresh. Through the run, through the tournament, through the second half of the season. And like I said, there's just so many talented guys that, you're going to play the hot hand, the better matchup for that game. Certainly led, Cody Dillon has been enormous for us. He's had some really big games. He's a competitor. He's a fighter for us, and he's our emotional leader. Nate Jakubek was second team All OAC last year, and he contributes. He's our best defender. And Jarrett Ruffin, Jarrett and Nate were both freshmen of the year in our conferences, back-to-back years. So, we have some talented guys. Putting that together, trying to defend on a nightly basis is always going to be a struggle, but they have done an extremely good job. And, I think our coaches, too, our assistants have gotten them ready game in and game out.
Talking to Coach Mike Feuline here of Mount Union. Team is 13-3 overall, 8-1 in the OAC. 8-1. You guys were 9-9 last year, 7-11 in the year before. You mentioned a couple of years here. Things have certainly turned around. Is it also kind of part of the culture? I mean, obviously the football program there garners a ton of attention for obvious reasons. Won't even make a joke. The women's basketball team, though, over the last few years has certainly come in its own. There's other programs at Mount Union that are just as good. Is it kind of the culture that is just breeding this, and now that you've come in and you're being able to establish what you want to do, you're starting to reap those benefits as well?
It is, and that's a great point. We have a wonderful university, and students love to go there, and we attract some great student athletes on every level. Being around our football players and our football coaches, I can't tell you how much value it is for us. They're our biggest supporters. Hopefully we're their biggest supporters. I think they would tell you that. And being around winners, you want to feel that. You mentioned a few of our programs. I mean, wrestling, volleyball, track and field. We can go on and on, down the line of teams that are nationally ranked. And at some point, we want to fit in too. And we're working, we're working at it so hard to get there. And I give credit to our university. Kids are starting to come out. We had 2,300 people at our Marietta game, which has gotten our guys excited. It's certainly very big for our program. We have certainly a long way to go. But we're getting there, and we're taking strides. And like you said, all you have to do is look down the hallway, look in the weight room, and see these young athletes who work so hard and have performed and won championships, and we want to be a part of that.
You've got Heidelberg on Saturday at home. You're then at John Carroll on Wednesday to finish January before facing off against Capital at home on February 1st. That's all in the next week and a half. Those are three big games. Heidelberg, as you point out, is probably dangerous. John Carroll is lurking in the background. Capital's that team that you guys I know would love to exact some revenge with. This home away. You got a mix here. Home, then away, then home, then two away, then two home, and then you finish on the road away. So, kind of a break in the routine a little bit. You don't get to settle into anything straight and forward. How do you guys adapt to that? How do you keep the team focused?
Well, that's another great question. Being on the road, certainly with still some young guys, especially playing freshmen in significant minutes, it takes a while to get used to. Hopefully now by the middle of January and the start of February, we're used to that routine. We're used to having a pregame meal, getting on the bus, stretching, and getting familiar with the gym. And we need our veterans, our guys who have been there before, to kind of lead us until these young guys get affiliated with the gym and the rims and things like that. So it's a grind, but everybody has to go on the road. I don't think the OAC would let us play every game at home, although I wish they would. That's just part of it, and that's why, to be honest with you, winning those home games is so significant. You can't drop one of those at home, and then if you can steal some on the road, and that goes for the entire league. It's just going to help you in the standings. You look at that last week. We're at Marietta, at Wilmington. Mm-hmm. That's like going to the dentist. So, we need to find a way, to kind of stretch this lead out. And the only thing we can do is focus on ourselves and just try to stay healthy, try to stay focused, like you said, and just move on one game to the next.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to join us here to talk Purple Raiders basketball. Certainly fun to see how the team is doing, especially maybe even ahead of the curve, as it were. We'll see how you guys continue on. Love to see what's going on. Obviously, big home game coming up on Saturday against Heidelberg, and then on the road against John Carroll, as we mentioned, before returning home against Capital. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
I just, want to thank you for having us on and, continue to follow us because I hope we're a program on the rise here.
Absolutely. Well, I think you've proven that already by meeting last year's win total already with plenty of basketball left to go in the season. Good luck the rest of the way. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Take care. Coach Mike Feuline joining us here from Mount Union. Team is 14. I had a 14-3. I guess they're 13-3. I may have jumped the gun there just a little bit. You think? 13-3 overall, 8-1 in conference action. Team is playing very good basketball. Have won 11 of their last 12, dating back to a loss to Rochester on the 1st. They lost to Capital back on the 20th in a makeup game. Looking forward to seeing how the Purple Raiders do there, especially in the OAC. We'll see how everything shapes up there. We are keeping you abreast of some scores from around men's and women's basketball action. Top 25 action. Wesley is in a dogfight. Number 12 team in the country with Penn State Harrisburg. Remember, this Penn State Harrisburg team is the ones who actually defeated Christopher Newport at their place a while back. Right now, Penn State Harrisburg leads 47-45 with 8:06 left to go in that game. Another top 25 team is in a dogfight. SUNY Purchase was down by 5. They now lead by 4 over Sage. That's with 1:53 left. Purchase leads 73-69. We'll see how that transpires. But neither team shooting very well from the free throw line. Purchase has been there 40 times and only hit 25 shots. Sage has been there 24 times and only hit 12. Also in men's basketball action, Messiah is at Widener, and Messiah leads by 5 with 58 seconds left, 41-36. Also, Mary Washington have an easy time of it as they start the second half over Southern Virginia right now. No surprise there, 69-38. In women's basketball action, the two top 25 teams in action have won. FDU Florham defeated Eastern 76-58 in MAC Freedom action. And in NJAC action, Montclair State defeated Rowan 77-55. So similar scores, similar outcomes to the two top 25 teams in action in women's basketball. We'll keep abreast of anything else that jumps out at us as well, but we're going to take another break. When we return, we're going to jump out into the West region and talk to the only undefeated team. Well, not the only undefeated team. I should say a surprising undefeated team. We'll see how the reaction is from them. Dubuque men's basketball coming up here on Hoopsville. Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back right after this.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, on this Thursday evening. Plenty of good basketball to talk about. We have one more guest to go. We'll go a little bit into overtime here, keeping you abreast of other scores from around Division III. At halftime, Messiah leads Widener 41-39. Messiah, the 17th ranked team in the country. Kind of on the ropes, as it were, but Widener's a tough place to play, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Also in men's basketball action, 5:34 left. Wesley now leads Penn State Harrisburg 52-51, but Penn State Harrisburg has come back in that one. Penn State Harrisburg was down by, I think, it looks like they weren't down as far as I thought they were. They were down by 8, 23-15, and have come come back and made that a ball game. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And, of course, the other game, number 15, SUNY Purchase, leads by 3 over Sage with 55 seconds left. We'll keep an eye on that, see how that game ends up as well. If you have questions for us or our guests, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. That's at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also email us at hoopsville at d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville at d3hoops.com. And you can, of course, join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. We're going to talk to the one top 25 team we have on the schedule. And joining us on the Hoopsville hotline is men's basketball coach at Dubuque, number 25 team in the country, and that is Coach Robbie Sieverding. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Glad you could join us. Team is 16-0, now ranked in the top 25 at number 25. Got to be thrilled with how your team has played this year.
Yeah, we've been on the right end of some very close games here early on in conference play, and we were able to games and I think build some confidence early in the season, carried over to conference play. So definitely a great start so far.
You look at your schedule and it's a collection of a lot of different thoughts. You start the season off with North Central and Northwestern in Minnesota. Not easy wins, I shouldn't say. North Central was. Northwestern was a bit of a fight. You then took on Monmouth and got a win there. And in Benedictine, you beat a pretty solid Carthage squad in a high-scoring affair. Then you played non-Division III Clark and beat them. I should say you beat everybody. I don't know why I keep repeating that. You played North Central again and won even more easily that time. Beat another non-Division III in ARB College of Business. Beat Rockford, St. Francis of Illinois, Bethany Lutheran, then Wartburg, and you got into conference play, and you're now 4-0 in conference action. You're 5-0 in conference action with a win over Co. From your vantage point, is this the season you thought it would happen? Did you think you were going to have an easy time of it? I mean, Carthage is about the only, extremely difficult school that jumps out at me off the top of my head.
Yeah. I mean, Carthage, we were down 20 in the first half, and it was up at their place, and we came back to win an overtime game, which was a good confidence builder for us. Some of the other games, it wasn't our strength of schedule wasn't the hardest by any means, but we graduated a few good players from last year's team, and we had a couple good seniors back, and we thought maybe when we scheduled a couple of those games, there may be some teams that were a little bit better. Clark College is a rivalry school that's receiving votes in the NAIA poll, and St. Francis is a pretty good school out of Joliet, an NAIA school. So those were a couple decent NAIA games. But we definitely, we have two guards that are 1,000-point scorers that are seniors for us, and they've played in some pretty big games. Last year we were able to win our conference tournament, and they've played in some pretty big games. We certainly thought we could be pretty good, but we also lost our starting point guard the first game of the year to a torn ACL, which gave us time to throw some different people out there. But we definitely had to kind of reinvent that point guard position because there were some new people playing there. And like I said, we've been on the right side of some close games, and it's kind of our non-league gave our guys some confidence going into conference play.
Conference play again, 4-0 right now. You've got, or I should say 5-0, my mistake. You've got a game lead on Buena Vista, who's 9-7, 4-1. Central, Loris are tied at 3-2, and then Wartburg 2-3, and then Luther, Co, and Simpson. Of course, Central and Loris are having decent seasons at 10-6 each. You've taken advantage of the schedule so far. You got wins over Wartburg at home, Central on the road, Luther at home, and Buena Vista at home. Of course, you also won on the road at Co. Now you kind of start turning things back around. You'll have to play Loris and Simpson before getting back into action. You'll have some of your toughest games on the road, though, with Buena Vista near the end of the season on the road as well. How do you get the team refocused? Great. Now you're getting attention at 16-0. You're getting attention at 5-0 in the conference. You're ranked now. How do you focus on what the task is ahead, and that's starting with Loris on the road on Saturday?
Yeah, we got a pretty mature group. Like I said, we got some seniors that have been around and played in some some big environments and some big atmosphere. And we talk about the process and trying to continue to get better, because we certainly have played some good parts of games, but I still think there's a fair amount of improvement that we can be on both ends. So, they know what the record is, and we try not to talk about it much. It's each game and each week. I know it sounds like a cliche, but we're trying to get better each game and each week. And obviously, we want to be playing our best basketball down the stretch here. And we got a very good big rivalry game against Loras, and they have a couple very good wins against Illinois Wesleyan and Wheaton College. So that's always a big rivalry game, and that'll be a big one on Saturday. And we got Simpson next week at home, and then we turn around. That's once through the conference schedule, and then we start going. And like you said, we got some tough road games still to play yet. But I really like the way our team is starting to play on the defensive end. I think we're probably averaging around 39% field goal percentage defense here these first 5 conference games. So we've gradually gotten better on the defensive end here as the season's progressed, and that's one of the things that we've really been trying to get better at. So hopefully we can continue to see some of those improvements as we get through the grind of this halfway point through the conference season.
Let's talk about your team. You've got, I think, 3 seniors on the squad. One of them from Heidelberg, Germany, which is always very impressive. You then have, you 3 seniors, but then you have a bunch of other players on this squad. You're being led by Andre Norris, 16.8 points a game, 6 rebounds, shooting 61% from the floor. Chris Frazier at 13.1 points a game. Gage Heffernan, 12.8 points a game. By the way, back to Chris Frazier. He's the German at 13.1. 10.1 out of Mitch Michaelis.
Yep, Michaelis.
And then 8.7 out of Brandon Ferguson. You're getting tons of rebounds, too. I mentioned Norris. Heffernan's got 6.5 rebounds as well. You're going deep on this bench, getting a lot of different options in scoring, a lot of different options in shooting. It's got to be nice for a coach to know you can't just shut down one guy and shut down this team.
Yeah, it is. We're pretty balanced. Andre was a really good freshman. He was second team all league as a freshman last year, which doesn't happen in our league hardly at all. Very gifted, 6'7", can kind of score it inside and outside. And a couple of weeks ago, he was around third in the nation in field goal percentage, and that's dropped a little bit here in conference play. But having a great year for us, has been the Iowa Conference Player of the Week in men's basketball 4 different times already for 4 different weeks, and played really, really good. And Chris Frazier is one of our senior guards that started for 3 years and just went over the 1,000-point mark. And Mitch Michaelis is a 4-year starter for us, and a different type of player, more of a slasher driver than Chris. And those two complement each other well. And Mitch is a guy that started pretty much from day one and is a 1,000-point scorer as well from a couple weeks ago. And Gage Heffernan is a really good, physical, undersized foreman who's been just a really good glue guy for us. He was a kid we recruited a couple years ago and played at Kirkwood Community College, which is a very good junior college here in Iowa in Cedar Rapids. So we were able to get him back to Dubuque. He's a Dubuque Hempstead kid, and he's been just kind of a rock for us. He rebounds the basketball and scores it. He's one of those kids that you don't have to really run a whole lot for, and you look at the end of the night and he's got 12 and 10 on the stat sheet. So those 4 guys have been scoring it pretty good, and our bench has been pretty good. Brandon Ferguson, we've had some young kids that have stepped up and had some good games. So Andre has scored it probably a little bit more than what we thought, and then after that we've been pretty balanced with different guys having bigger games night in and night out.
You know this program well, obviously. I think your 7th season as head coach. Of course, you were an assistant coach before then. This team was 22-7 last year, which was a huge breakthrough for this Dubuque unit. Now you're sitting at 15-0. Have the eyes changed in Spartan land? Have people started focusing on this program and realizing you guys are putting together, a pretty good squad?
Yeah, I think the last few years we've been pretty solid. I think we're the last 4 years we finished no worse than 3rd in our league, and we've been right up there. And 3 years when Mitch Michaelis was our senior class, their freshman year, they played in the championship game up at Luther in the conference tournament and lost that game. And then the sophomore year, I believe we were 1 game out of a share of the conference title. And then last year we won 22 games and won the conference championship. And we were first in the league in attendance last year and got some really good fan support. So I think it's been kind of going in the right direction the last few years. And last year was, like you said, kind of a breakthrough year where we had our best school record in the program's history, and it's kind of carried over. We took our guys to Costa Rica in May, and were able to get 10 practices out of season and go play 3 games over there in May. And I think that really kind of built some chemistry. We were able to identify some of our role players that were going to have more of an increased role this year. We were able to get them in some game situations that, they weren't in as sophomores or juniors, whatever it was last year. So I think that really helped us going into the year too. We almost had like an extra, preseason in May there. So we've had a few different reasons I think that's led up to this, and a big part of it is just kind of our senior leadership. Been around, and having some good guards is obviously important for coaches. So.
Of course, won 23 of the last 24 games as well, by the way. We should also mention you were chosen for the Iowa High School Athletics Hall of Fame earlier. Well, not this year. It was last year. It was back on October 2nd. I think it was the official announcement. You trained in Iowa, to say the least. Certainly had a heck of a prep school career as well. What does it mean to have that kind of accolade, still be in Iowa, and now have a head coaching job for a program that you've certainly helped turn around?
Yeah, it's great being back here. My family and my wife's family is from the area, and I wanted to get into coaching and close to where I grew up. I grew up about 20 miles south of Dubuque in a small town of Bellevue, Iowa. So I wanted to get back here. I played in Iowa, and I actually played for Coach Greg McDermott, who's son was about a 7th grader. Dougie was a 7th grader walking around practice, and would have never imagined he is where he is now. But his brother, Marty McDermott, got the head job here right when I got done playing at Northern Iowa. So I was able to come on as an assistant, and it's really been it's been great. We took over a program in a school and a team that was struggling in kind of all areas. And right when we got here, the school itself started doing some things to make it a lot easier to recruit to, with facilities and things like that. So it's been fun to knowing where we came from, because it was we inherited a team that was 2-23 in the 2003 season. So they weren't coming off a lot of success, and there was various reasons, but it's been fun to see it go from there back home here, close to home, where we were, and now seeing it grow to where we have it now, and hopefully we can just kind of keep this momentum rolling.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to join us. Certainly an impressive start to the season. Really, of course, we're midway through. It's no longer a start. 15-0 overall, 4-0 in conference action, though a ton of games still to play, especially in conference play. The likes of Buena Vista, of course, committee chair there, keeping an eye on you guys. Regional committee chair, of course, he's on the national committee as well. Central, of course, still looming. Loris as well. But, of course, you got to get past Loris coming up here on Saturday first before the rest of the season. As always, Coach, we give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
No, just hopefully we can get some people at the game this Saturday and throughout the season. Like I said, we've had some very good crowds. I think we got a very good, tight-knit group of players here at Dubuque. So hopefully we can keep this thing rolling. And like all leagues, it is challenging to win on the road, and you got to try to find ways to protect your home floor. And we've been able to do it so far, so hopefully we can keep this momentum going.
Very good. Well, congratulations on the start of the season, 16-0 overall, number 25 team in the country. Good luck on Saturday, and we'll look forward to seeing how the Spartans do the rest of the way.
Okay, thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you. Take care.
All right.
Appreciate Coach Robbie Sieverding joining us here on Hoopsville. Certainly off to a terrific start. And really, great job by them. Turned their program around. They are doing very well. We'll hopefully see them maybe playing an NCAA tournament time. We'll see where they get matched up and see how they do. It's always a good sign for a program like that. Got a question earlier tonight about why we weren't talking about William Patterson Pioneer basketball. Of course, first and foremost, on Thursday nights we talk primarily East Mid-Atlantic, South Great Lakes regions primarily, and West. On Sunday nights we talk Northeast Atlantic, South as well a little bit, Midwest or Central, I should say, regions. And so we don't really talk about NJAC teams necessarily, but William Patterson 14-3 overall, 8-2 in the conference. is not a bad team, but I think a lot of people would like to see how the NJAC does overall. Coach Jose Rabimba certainly seems to have a good squad there. Their losses are to Brooklyn, 102-100 earlier in the season. They lost to Rutgers Newark, 64-62. Rutgers Newark, not a bad loss necessarily. They are tied with William Patterson right now in the NJAC at 8-2, and Rutgers Newark 12-5 overall. And of course, they also lost to Ramapo. Ramapo's a tough squad, but they're 7-10 this season, 4-6 in conference play. I think that has a lot of people kind of shaking their heads. Of course, Richard Stockton's up there in the mix as well, 13-3, 7-2 as well. Their game from yesterday postponed. We'll see when Richard Stockton gets back that game. Of course, Richard Stockton coming off a loss to Brooklyn, 63-55. They have that in common with William Patterson. Of course, William Patterson defeated Richard Stockton earlier in the year, 74-72. That game, those two teams will face off against each other on Saturday. Basically, Richard Stockton with an entire week off before they'll play William Patterson, though they prepared for their game that got postponed, and now I'm looking for it. I think they got postponed against Kane, and it got moved to the 3rd. So we'll see. The NJAC is the NJAC. In the last few years has not impressed me. We'll see what happens. I think they got a couple good teams up there in Rutgers, Newark, William Patterson, and Richard Stockton, to be sure. And Kane's lurking. New Jersey City's in there. New Jersey City's a disappointment this year, to be flat out honest. But we'll see what happens. On the men's side, the NJAC hasn't been killer and shocking, so we'll see what happens down the road. But, and that being said, congratulations to them, to be sure. By the way, I got another question about from a viewer asking us to talk about JoJo Woodruff. It's probably is a relative of his at Linden State, pointing out the fact that he had a triple-double and was leading the conference in scoring, putting up tremendous numbers, and has only started in one game. He was player of the week in the conference. Hey, pretty impressive to say. Absolutely. Of course, the NAC is not the most competitive conference in the country. It's not one of the toughest conferences in the country. But when you're coming off the bench and had a triple-double in a game and you're leading the conference in scoring, that's certainly something to certainly hang a hat on. Linden State having a decent season. If my computer would work faster, I'd give you some more information on that. So while the computer's working, I do have some score updates for you. Wesley is trying to hold on against Penn State Harrisburg. Number 12 team in the country leads 62-60. Penn State Harrisburg starting to prove that winning at their place is not easy. 35 seconds left there. Wesley leads by 2. Other top 25 team, Purchase survives, comes from behind to beat Sage. Let's see here. Purchase was down 69-64 with 5.5 minutes left and goes on. Hold on, let's see here. Goes on to, what did I have the score at? 69-64. So they go on a 7. No, that's not possible. I'm not doing the math right there. They go on a 12-4 run to win that game and come from behind. So congratulations to Purchase for holding on there, to say the least. We'll see if we can get that team. There it is. Now the team of the week pops up. Just wanted to take a look on the men's side. Kyle McAndrews averaged 30 points a game this past week as Pomona and Pitzer went 2-0. Kevin Agnew from Lebanon Valley. Agnew averaged 32.5 points and 2.5 assists a game while scoring 34 against Elizabethtown and then 31 against Stevenson. Certainly a good job there by Kevin Agnew. These are all team of the week. You can get them online at d3hoops.com. By the way, another top 25 score in the second half. Messiah holding on against Widener right now. It is 49-46 with 15:42 left to go. Of course, Messiah, the number 17 team in the country. Those are scores from around Division III basketball. Of course, the two top 25 scores in women's basketball we gave you. FDU Florham defeated Eastern 76-58 in MAC Freedom action, and in NJAC action, Montclair State defeated Rowan 77-55. Those games in women's action, as we point out. No other surprises. Mary Washington on the men's side, number 15 team in the country, 98-61 on Southern Virginia with 8:10 left to go. Really no surprise whatsoever there. But back to my comments about Linden State and JoJo Woodruff. Certainly a good season by him. Certainly impressive, but this fan, who I believe is a parent, says one of the best Division III players around. I'm not going to knock your opinion on that. My only thought is Linden State, not exactly a world beater, and they're playing in a really tough Northeast region with the likes of Amherst and Williams and all those others, and of course WPI and MIT and so on and so forth. Let's check out Linden State really quickly out of Lyndonville, Vermont, if you're not familiar. Team is 4-11 on the season and 4-4 in conference play. Last year they were 12-14, 11-7. I can understand if you believe that JoJo Woodruff is one of the best players in Division III, but his team isn't helping him. He averaged a triple-double in last game in a 113-104 loss to Castleton State. Linden State needs to do a little bit more before JoJo Woodruff can get attention for being one of the best players in the country. Unfortunately, they have Maine Maritime ahead tomorrow, and they'll play Husson on Saturday. Of course, the standings in the NAC, Husson leads the way 13-1. I think they just lost their first game the other night in non-conference action. They did to Bates in non-conference action, 79-58. Husson is 7-0 in conference play. Castleton State second in the conference, 9-5, 7-1. Colby Sawyer is 8-7, 7-2, and then Thomas 5-9, 5-3. Tells you a little bit about the conference. The NEC not exactly strong. The only team will come out of that will be the automatic qualifier for the NCAA tournament. Thank you for the email. Appreciate your love of your relative, I'm assuming, at Linden State. Certainly impressive what he's doing. I just can't agree that he's one of the best in Division III by any shape or whatnot. We're going to couple more minutes here. If you got a final questions, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com or join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Don't forget our special Hoopsville Marathon Show, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. a week from today. We'll be on the air 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We're already starting to book up guests, including the Vice President for Division III at the NCAA, Dan Dutcher, will be joining us. We hope to hear from both committee chairs as well. Already starting to mix it up with guests on the show. Got lots of ideas. We're working to finalize those guests. Some of the guests who will be appearing on the show will be thanks in part to donations made to the Hoopsville fundraising project. That project right now is at about 51% of our goal. We have until February 9th to hit our goal, though we'd love to exceed our goal. We don't want to hit our goal and just stay there. We want to exceed our goal, and it comes from donations like from you who may be tuning in and those who are on the boards as well. So some of those guests who will be appearing, I'll be wearing a shirt representing their favorite school or even conference, and be interviewing somebody from of their choice, a men's and women's basketball coach, or in some cases otherwise. And so if you want, you can still try and get in for the action. All depends on how fast we can turn a shirt around, as it were, and get it to us. But to go learn more about how to donate to the Hoopsville fundraising project and learn more about why we're putting it on, go back, check it out at d3hoops.com. There's a link on the front page. There's also information on our Hoopsville page at d3hoopsville.com. You can also, by the way, find more information on our Twitter at d3hoopsville or on our Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Also be tweeting out more information every day as we have the rest of the way. Coming up on Sunday, we will talk Northeast, Atlantic, Midwest/Central, West region, and even maybe a little South region basketball. That's all coming up on Sunday's show. That show will be 7 to 9. That Thursday show, normally on Thursday evenings, we talk about the Mid-Atlantic, the East, the South, the Great Lakes, and the West regions. That Thursday show, we will talk all regions. We will not hold back. All regions will be on the air that night as we move forward. Again, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Please tune in. Turn it on while you're at work. Turn it on while you're doing other things. We'd love to have the support from you. We certainly hope you will enjoy the show as well. Tell your friends about the show. Tell your friends about the fundraiser as well. The more people who know about the fundraiser project that we have going on, the more the merrier. A reminder that in that fundraising project, hold on, I want to double check the Wesley score. 2 seconds left, by the way. It is Wesley 63, Penn State or 64, Penn State 63. And I'm trying to determine who's got the ball, and I can't for some reason. Cannot determine. Turnover by Penn State. So this game's probably over, it looks like. Wesley will most likely win this game. By the way, Wesley had to Penn State Harrisburg hit a three-pointer to make that tight. So we'll double check, but that game may be over. By the way, so anyway, back to the fundraiser. We do have some perks along the way if you'd like to get them. We have a few of them left. If you donate $10 and choose the perk, you'll be recognized on our contributors page on our website, d3hoopsville.com. If you contribute $25, we call it the Dribble and Drive. That will get you the thank you on the contributors page. Also, a public thank you here on Hoopsville. Those two, there are unclaimed number of how many people can contribute to that. If you contribute $50, which is our featured perk right now, it's called the offensive rebound. The first 15 to contribute at least $50 will be recognized. We will recognize you on our contributors page, publicly thank you on the show, send you a Hoopsville t-shirt by the end of the basketball season. That should be something you may be interested in. We'll send you a Hoopsville t-shirt. 10 so far have claimed that of the 15 that are available. So a few more there. But the most popular has been the Slam Dunk. It's a $100 donation. First 15 to contribute at least $100, we will recognize you on our contributors page, publicly thank you on a future show. Send you a Hoopsville t-shirt. We will also wear your school shirt on the show while interviewing a men's or women's basketball coach of your choosing or other guest. 13 have claimed that so far of the 15, though, interestingly enough, I'm going to have to go back and figure out where all our guests are coming from. 13 have claimed it of the 15. We did have a couple claim it today. We're going to work on those. Again, hopefully we'll have most of those on next Thursday's show, if not future shows, to be sure. But again, I will wear your school shirt on the air should we be able to get one. There are only two left of that, though. The Slam Dunk is almost out. Then the championship, which is a $250 donation. First 10 to contribute to that will not only get the thank yous, both on the website and publicly, but we'll also give you a Hoopsville t-shirt. I'll wear your school shirt, interview your head coach or a coach of your choosing, and you will get a chance to appear on Hoopsville as well to talk about your team and why you love Division III basketball. So those are your options. Again, we have 5 of those have been claimed of the 10 that we have available. That is going to do our show. I don't see any other questions that have come in, so we'll sign off for tonight. Plenty more to talk about in Division III. We'll be back on the air on Sunday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We get closer and closer to regional rankings coming out, so certainly more information is coming out. Of course, lots of other things to kind of digest as well. We'll start getting a better grip of maybe what's going on in most conferences, but maybe not all. That's 7 to 9 p.m. on Sunday night, and then on the air next Thursday, again, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., part of the Hoopsville fundraising project. If you have any questions for us in the meantime, you can always tweet us questions at D3Hoops or hashtag Hoopsville. You can email us at Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com, or you can message us on Facebook at Facebook.com/Hoopsville. I want to thank our guests for appearing tonight. Transylvania women's basketball coach Greg Todd, Johns Hopkins women's basketball coach Nancy Funk, William Smith coach, of course, women's Lindsay Sharman, Shriner men's basketball coach Jimmy Smith, Mount Union men's basketball coach Mike Fewline, and Dubuque men's basketball coach Robbie Sieverding joining us here on Hoopsville. Appreciate them taking the time to do so as well. If you have an idea of a school of the week or a coach's corner guest, also tweet us or email us as well. That's going to do it for Hoopsville. I want to thank, as always, D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Broadcasters for helping us with this show. We thank you for tuning in. Certainly can't do it without you. Certainly had some good numbers tonight, and we thank you all for joining us. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3 Hoops and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back on the air on Sunday, starting at 7 o'clock. Good night, everybody.